You're listening to the Minutes on Growth podcast, the show that brings you mindfully curated insights into relationships, spirituality, personal development, and everything in between, with your host, Tannaz Hosseinpour. Hi everyone, it's Tannaz Hosseinpour from Minutes on Growth. Today we're switching things up, and I have asked Christian Lita from the Younger, Smarter, Better podcast to join me as part of a 3-part series that we've done together. So the first part was on decluttering the mindset, the second part was on manifesting, and today I leave it to Christian. Welcome, Christian.
Hello, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. So today we're going to be talking about affirmations as kind of like you were saying, a 3-part series where we were diving into the idea of decluttering the mind, talking about manifestation. And today we're going to talk about more of the kind of like the last step of receiving and the process leading up to that. So I kind of wanted to talk about the things that you can set yourself up for. We talked a lot about gratitude and how that opens yourself up to receiving those things that you're really looking for and manifesting in your life. So affirmations are kind of something you daily repeat yourself as kind of like a mental reprogramming almost, if you want to think about it like that, of kind of like if you think I can't do these things, you hear these negative thoughts. It's the process of changing your mind, changing your beliefs about what you say and how you go about your day. And so we were talking about last episode how you have your affirmations written around the room. Do you want to tell us more about that?
Last episode we were talking about some of the affirmations that I have, especially around abundance. Right now, everyone is in a scarcity mindset. So we want to take away from lack and tap into presence. So, I am abundant, I am healthy, the universe supports me, the universe has my back. So just asking yourself, like, what areas of my life do I want to work on? And then creating affirmations around that also combat your limiting beliefs and opinions.
Yeah, awesome. So when we're talking about affirmations, a lot of the times it's like it's noticing the negative Nancy, the thing that your neighbor, as you like to call it, that kind of nags and it's in the back of your head, oh, you can't do that. You're not good enough for that car. You're not good enough for that job or that person in your life, right? And it's kind of reprogramming yourself. And there's some things that you can do to kind of make affirmations more effective. And the first thing that you can do is the way that you say, I am. I am abundant. I am wealthy. I am making these things. I am making them happen, because it starts to make your brain, once you start saying it and phrasing it in such a way that I am, you are bringing that into your life and you are bringing that to your person. You're elevating your frequency up to that point of view and reprogramming these things. And so also there's a few other things, saying it positively. Don't say what is this? I'm like overweight, or like I'm losing this weight. I'm like, oh, I'm doing all these things, right? Because it's, once you say it in a negative standpoint, you're kind of rejecting what you're trying to attract into your life. So saying it positively, like I am this weight. I am going to be getting here. I am in these places, right? Because that's what really brings your frequency up. And that really is what brings you to where you want to be.
I love that. And Dr. Wayne Dyer talks a lot about this, the whole I am being the 2 most powerful words in the English vocabulary. And you can just translate that to any other language. I also love the positive wording. And I think one of the reasons behind that is when we use negative wording, our mind, our subconscious, or the neighbor inside immediately shifts to thinking about the negative. So even though that's not our intention is to be, shined away from it, but instead the word brings us into thinking about it again. So I like that, using positive words. And even what I've noticed is, like, sometimes we say, for example, I am a millionaire. And if you don't believe in it, it won't really happen because you have to give away the energy. But I recently come across this word intent. So I intend to become a millionaire. So you believe in it, it's still positive, and it gets it going. What do you think?
That's really awesome. I think especially one of the things that I've been, especially when looking at this area of affirmations, one of the things that I kept hearing from different sources, there's kind of this idea of like saying things that you're not and truly believing it. So a lot of the manifesting is believing in that you're receiving. So if you're saying affirmations of something like I'm a millionaire, but you don't really believe it every time you say it, you're slowly disconnecting. So saying especially intend is a great way to do that, because saying I intend to be a millionaire, it connects that gap. And I think that that one word is really important, because it's something that I've especially been looking for and researching of where is that gap? Because some people are saying, oh, the affirmation thing, when you use it the wrong way, you're just bringing yourself even further out. If you saying things that you don't believe, then it pulls you further and further away from what you were really trying to manifest. So being able to connect that is a really important part of this. And so another thing that I was thinking about is that another piece of this. So being positive minded, using the words I am, making sure that it's present tense. I think that's another thing of bringing that into the now. There's this idea of psychological distance, which is a really interesting concept of basically how close or far away you feel from something. So if you're saying like, I am a millionaire, but you don't feel that, you're not that close to that mentally, you're not going to be and have as positive and as impactful emotional experience with that, saying that. So if you say like I intend to be, or bringing it closer to you psychologically, it makes it more intense emotional feeling, and that really amps up the power of affirmations.
I love that. I love that the need to like feel it and to feel that it's possible for you and it's coming to you and it's right there or it's going to be right there. Just believing that, I think, is so important, just like you said.
So yeah, and there was another thing of I was recently reading this book, and I really came up with an interesting idea. The book was called The Marshmallow Test, and was about talking about this test where, and it was dealing. The whole book was dealing with self control of how long can you like avoid temptations and these things. And I'll connect this back to affirmations in just a second. But what this test was is this test was done like 50 or so years ago, and what they did is they set out a marshmallow in front of a kid, kindergartner, like 8 or 10 years old, right? And they set out this marshmallow in front of them and said, look, if you can wait for 10 minutes, or if you wait for our assistants to come back, you get 2 marshmallows. So it's this kind of idea of self-control, waiting for these things. And in the concept of the book, they were talking about, okay, now what can you do to extend your delayed gratification, right? What can you do in your mind to kind of like control yourself and to extend these things, to wait for that second marshmallow to come? And they came up with this, talking about this idea of if then implementation techniques. And this is something that's used for build habits and something that can be used to build a habit of affirmation. So making it saying like, if I hear negative Nancy saying that I can't be a millionaire, then I will visualize being a millionaire. I will visualize and say my affirmation to myself. Thinking of it this way, right? Writing down some different things that you can do, set in place to make affirmations part of a habit. Writing down and putting things around your house is a great way to do this, because you can visually see it and it reminds you. Now, another thing you can do is make a mental habit of it. So saying, if I hear myself thinking negative thoughts or thinking this way or that way, then I will reprogram that. I will say my affirmations to myself. Or if I see my car, then I will think to myself, I really enjoy this car, or think about gratitude. These ways are little mental reminders that you can set up throughout your entire day. If I open my phone, then I will think of my family. These sorts of things that you can use for affirmations to make them even more impactful.
That's so interesting. I mean, I had heard about the marshmallow test, but I never thought about if and then. And right now, I think being home and there's a lot of distractions at home. What are some practical tools and practical ways that we can implement the if and then, especially in terms of our nutrition, our health, and working out? So, what do you suggest? Do you have any suggestions?
I do. This has actually been something that I've been working on recently, of trying to be a little bit more fit, a little bit more healthy. So what I've been doing is I tend to get bored. I had this habit where if I would get bored working on schoolwork or working on side projects and stuff, I'd go up and I'd go into my kitchen and I'd just open the cabinet. It wouldn't necessarily be because I'm looking for a snack or anything. It's just because that was a programmed loop that I was doing. So what I did is I set up a thing. If I find myself in the kitchen, if I find myself looking for food, then I'm going to remember what my goal is for health. I'm going to remember I want to be fit. I want to have ripped core abs, right? So I want to be in this place. This is part of my affirmation. So what I'm going to do is if I find myself in these areas, I'm going to remember the foods that I want to eat. I want to eat nuts. I want to eat fruits. I'm looking for these healthy things. I'm not looking for processed food or candy, which is what I normally go straight for. So especially when you're home, because it's so easy, the kitchen's not that far away when you're home all the time. So when you walk into your kitchen, say, that being your if I find myself in the kitchen, then remember your affirmation. What do you want to be healthy wise? What are you looking to eat? What are you looking to be as a person, and your body composure, these sorts of things, right? That's so if you find yourself in the kitchen, then what are you looking to eat? How are you looking to live your life? If you're like for working out, if you wake up in the morning, this works great for connecting habits and connecting how you want to live your life, the actual action steps behind your manifestation. So if I want to work out more, if I want to build this habit, then I will find a time. So if waking up in the morning and doing a workout, doing push-ups right next to your bed, if that's what works for you, great. So set something up, make it a habit. So if I wake up in the morning, then I'll just do 10 push-ups, something like that, something simple. Because when you make it simple, when you make it easy, it makes it so much better and so much easier for yourself to actually do and accomplish the things you set out to do. So especially when it comes to manifestation, a lot of times there's another added step. Manifesting also the action step. What do you have to do? A lot of times the universe works in mysterious ways. It brings things to you. But sometimes you have to do a little bit of research. You have to be able to walk out your door sometimes to be able to receive the gifts and the packages that show up on your doorstep. So it's that action of walking out.
Oh, I love the action part because a lot of times I notice that people are like sitting down and they're praying and they're like, okay, where is it? They're just waiting and waiting, but they're not actually doing anything to bring it into fruition. So, what are some steps that you've taken in your life to manifest your desires?
That's a great question. I think there's a lot of little things, especially the visual reminders is a huge part for me because I'm a very visual person. I'm a visual learner. This is how I work with visual mediums all the time. This is kind of my way that I can connect with my brain and how I like to work creatively. So setting up things, especially for manifesting and things, getting pictures and being able to see myself visually, and that we have a vision board in the hallway that I walk by all the time, and being able to see and picture myself in those situations where I want to be. If I can visualize myself in the driver's seat of my car, then that sort of thing is something that I can do. Setting up I believe we talked about this last episode. For a while, I talked about the story of how I manifested my car that I drive. And the affirmation that I set up was actually a screensaver on my phone. So a visual reminder for me and a screensaver for my phone is that I had a picture of the car and I visualized myself driving the car, what the breeze would feel like on my wind. These sorts of things for me, because that's really how my brain works. Other people might be different. They might like more auditorial, like hearing it, repeating affirmations to themselves. I more personally am a visual person, or maybe experiencing and visualizing the feeling that you get is also for different people. What works for them is different things.
Yes, definitely. Visualizing can be so, so powerful. So, your vision board, how long did it take for you to put it together?
So the vision board has been part of a family thing. So me, my sister, and my mom all have a shared vision board in the hallway. And what we do is every year, around New Year's Day, or as close as we can get to it, we will sit down and print out pictures. We'll come up with different categories. I don't remember the categories right off the top of my head, but we have 6 different categories: family, travel, happiness, abundance, career, these sorts of categories. And we'll do is print out pictures of things that we want to manifest, things that we want to bring into our lives. We put that onto the wall. I also have personally, I use goal setting sheets and things like that I can print and have a side that I can see every single day, something that I can see and work towards slowly.
I love that. Can you tell us a little bit about your goal setting sheet? It sounded really interesting.
Sure. So I'm a big goal setter. I'm a big achiever is my personality type on I believe it's the Enneagram. I don't remember the name exactly, but I really like to get things done. I really like to be productive. And the way that I do that is I set goals. I work towards them little steps at a time. And what I have is I've designed a sheet for myself. And I went through this process of trying to find the best way I could visualize my goals and be able to work towards them most efficiently. And from all the things that I found, I didn't find anything that worked for me. So I designed my own sheet that I use to track my goals. It's basically like a progress bar, and it's broken down into chunks for completing something. For example, every month I want to work out every weekend. So what I do is I have 4 bars on this larger bar, and I can fill them in whenever I work out. So I have complete 4 resistance training sessions. That's what I work out. And then I fill it in, and I can see the progress over the course of the month when I fill in and work towards that goal. So I've got resistance training sessions, I've got working for 20 hours, I've got getting days of good sleep routines. These are the sorts of things that I have on my goal sheet because they're things that habits and the goals that I will work towards as a person.
That's amazing that you've customized a sheet that works for you. And I think that's a great tip for everyone listening out there, that there's no one size fits all. And we really need to create a system that works for us, that resonates with us, and that most importantly, we can actually take action towards. Because a lot of time, we get so many tips and advices from different people, but we don't actually do them. It's just there. It's just the thought. And it's important for something to be unique for us. And I think once it's unique to us, that's when we take action. I also love the fact that you have a vision board with your family. That's a super, super cool family. Okay, so let's wrap things up. Can you give us a little bit of a summary and any last points that you want to put out there?
Sure. So this episode, we talked all about affirmations as a third part to our 3-part series. The first 2 episodes were decluttering the mind and talking about manifestation, which are on my podcast, Younger, Smarter, Better. You can check those out. And this episode, we talked a lot about affirmations and setting up that the words I am are the 2 most important, most impactful words in the English language, saying I am this, I am that. What you want to really bring into your mind. Affirmations are the process of things in simple statements you say to yourself to kind of get out that negative Nancy, to kind of reprogram your brain, rewire it so that you can really bring in your life what you want. And we talked a little bit about manifesting in the sense of using different techniques. One technique that I have recently looked into was the if-then implementation technique, which involves really setting out a cue. If walking into the kitchen, if you walk into the kitchen, then you're going to think about your affirmation. You're going to think about what you want to be eating. These sorts of things that you can use in your life. We also talked about other tips and tricks to bring things closer psychologically to you. A lot of that came down to making things in the present. Making things present tense really has a huge effect on the way that you think and the way that you receive your frequency. Another thing is making it into the positive tense, making sure that it's not a negative thing, because the negative thing really just throws things off on a frequency side of things. So that's what we kind of talked about. Putting notes around your house is another good method. And I think that's about it.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing those useful tips and to actually, you made everything sound so easy and doable and practical. And I think that's what we need to definitely nowadays. Now that we're home, it's the perfect time to, put our dreams and goals into action. So thank you for your time. And I am so excited to put this out there for everyone to listen to.
Thank you so much. It's
Thank
been an
you
honor.
everyone for listening, and speak soon. Thank you for joining us this week on Minutes on Growth. If you enjoyed today's episode, then make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now.